So, Nakamura. My name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist and mature, and we're here with something a little bit interesting. And by interesting, I mean I've been nutting over this game since I got it, and I'm sorry. I do have a bundle of different things I can talk about, ranging from little bits of trivia to just general game feel and improvement, in the case that, I don't know, 0 people are listening to this. I'd also like to bring up that a myriad of different studios worked on this game, among which including that which I'm also a part of their Discord for, Havoc Studios, the creator of Havoc Box, essentially. The creators, sorry. And I may or may not have played this game a decent amount. Part of the reason on the Carol file being so big is specifically because of a few things in there, and out of all 3 of the characters, I prefer playing with Carol the most. Mila is a bit on the floaty side. She's interesting, she's got some good kit. Nira is difficult to use, but if you can figure out how to use her, she's very powerful. And lastly, there's Lilac. I never started Freedom Planet 1 with Lilac, and I certainly didn't do the same here. Part of that was I wanted to save her playthrough for a quick game clearing stream. So expect the next 7 hours to be dedicated to that. But before we even get into the game, there are a couple things I need to bring up concerning how this game goes about balancing itself. First off, there's a basic difficulty setting at the very start. You can choose beginner, normal, or expert, and it changes a few different properties about the game. I don't know if it changes damage values or anything like enemy locations or enemy types. What I do know is, at beginner, you get element burst and crystals to petals. Element burst makes it so that your current unit deals chip damage to whatever it attacks via the character's core element, and every character has their own core element. Lilac is water, Carol is metal, Mila is wood, and for whatever reason, Nira is earth. There's no fire, just like in Freedom Planet 1, which is kind of weird, but whatever. At that, Auto Guard is also on. In other words, we'll get to the mechanic, but you'll be parrying automatically whenever you're about to take damage. You can still take damage in the interim time in between parries, though. At that, the cost for continuing, should you run out of lives, is drastically reduced by about 90%. On normal mode, no such benefits, really. You do get 10% more crystals from all sources, but other than that, there's not really much of a change. There's Expert, which I've poked at a little bit, but yeah, we're not going to be doing a full playthrough on Expert, just gonna give you that warning. Double damage and no revivals are fairly crippling modifiers. They will drastically bolster the amount of crystals that you can get at the end of stages, but, well, double damage means that you take twice as much damage as usual, and for some bosses, that's absolutely devastating, and it's going to create a rage game. No revivals, that concerns a particular gimmick about this game. We're going to be playing on normal mode for the most part. But first, Tutorial Land. For those who haven't played a platformer before, you can choose to take a short tutorial, figure out the controls for the game. Every character handles at least a little bit differently, and has a few different strengths and weaknesses. Lilac, being the speed type, supposedly speed type, a lot of her kit revolves around free movement. Her basic attack is pretty simple to spam out, deals a few hits to targets. And at that, for all characters, if you move fast enough, your attacks come out faster too. Every character also has a double jump, or a jump action, I should say. With Mila, it's a flutter jump, similar to Yoshi's Island. With Carol, it's a pounce, allowing her to dart forward. With Lilac, it's Dragon Cyclone, allowing her to do a combination of Carol and Nira's jump action. So in other words, it acts as a double jump, but you don't go as high. But it also acts as a flutter, but it doesn't act as long. And finally, the character's unique action. Every character has a unique action that's, well, unique to them. These can do a myriad of different things, and it varies from character to character. With Lilac, she gets Dragon Boost. Dragon Boost lets her dart forward in one of six directions. If she hits a wall, she'll bounce off of it. You could also choose to cancel it prematurely, and create a damaging burst effect wherever you cancel it. With Mila, her big gimmick revolves around Phantom Cubes. So you'll hit the dodge button and you'll create a Phantom Cube. This cube can then augment the power of your next 10 shots, or otherwise be used to create a beam that deals a lot of damage in a medium area. With Carol, she throws a chakram that she can then jump to by hitting the special button again. With Nira, it's Frost Arts. So depending on whether you're holding up, down, or not holding a button whatsoever, she'll perform a different art that has its own unique advantages and disadvantages and usabilities. Alright, in terms of plot for the game, let's just say the events of this game occur specifically because the Kingdom Stone shattered at the end of Freedom Planet 1, thus releasing Murga, our main antagonist. And she is not happy.
Pretty fast, but not fast enough. Oh no, Carol!
She can handle herself. You know Carol. She gets into trouble a lot. Right, the one button that I didn't get to explain is the dodge button. Unique to Freedom Planet 2, dodging lets you temporarily mitigate damage from all attacks for a short time. Bear in mind, though, that you can't exactly crank it out whenever. There's a lag time. So in other words, after you've used the dodge, for a short few moments after you've used it, you can't use it again. Getting used to this dodge mechanic is imperative, because there are a lot of different attacks that you can't exactly tank. Dodging them lets you keep the flow of battle and keep yourself safe. And depending on your modifiers, it might be necessary, because let's say you made it so that you can only take a single hit. At that, don't think that dodge can save you all the time. Again, as I mentioned, for a short period after the dodge has finished, you can't use it again, and you're going to be completely vulnerable. At that, this essentially means that if certain attacks last for an extremely long time, like from these guys here, it may be impossible for you to completely mitigate the damage with dodge, so make sure you're moving while you're using dodge. The item we just picked up is a character power-up. This power-up varies from character to character. With Carol, you get her motorcycle, drastically improving her movement speed, and in terms of her combat power, opening new opportunities and combo routes. With Mila, she gets a free 3 Phantom Cubes, and can stock up to 6 as a result of this effect. With Nira, the specific power-up lets her drastically improve her movement speed and let her use Frost Arts for free. With Lilac, she gets an additional projectile at the end of her attacks that can cause extra damage and improves her range for a short time. Again, all of these are for a short time, with the exception of Carol. Actually, no. Only Nira's and... So only technically Nira's and Lilac's are for a short time. The other two are until they get used up. So for Lilac's case... tongue. For Mila's case, it's until you've used those cubes and drop back down to 1 cube. And for Carol's case, it's until you take enough hits that destroys the bike. Most characters can use basic attacks in a variety of different directions, and again, each have their own properties. More often than not, though, characters with an upward attack can use it as a soft double jump. So in other words, Carol, Lilac, and to a shorter extent, Nira. In Nira's case, at least, you have to be hitting the opponent in order to be carried upward. Otherwise, nothing's gonna happen. In exchange, however, she does get a double jump action of sorts through her up special. You know, Frost Arts. Throughout stages, there are going to be a bundle of different treasure chests. If you can search them out, you can get a variety of different rewards, ranging from crystals to hearts, life petals, sorry, to enemy cores, which are mostly used in the museum, but can also be used for another type of collectible, gold gems. Gold gems can be exchanged in between stages for extra power-ups. We'll get to the power-ups and the shops later. At least for right now. Just keep collecting some mats. Yeah, there are a few different types of currency within the game. The most generic you'll find in stages are crystals. Collect enough of them and you get an extra stock. Stocks can be used 2 different ways. The first and typically standard way is, hey, it lets you restart at the last checkpoint that you hit. However, a secondary use for stocks comes in when you finally bottom out of HP. When that happens, you can choose to revive on the spot. Ow! Reviving on the spot gives you much less HP than if you were to restart from your last checkpoint. But in some cases, it might be useful to do so, specifically because you're, say, at the end of the boss fight and just want to make progress. And that's one of the things that I really, really like about this game. It takes into account that everyone has their own style of play, and it encourages a lot of them simultaneously. Not only can you make the game easier or harder on yourself by taking extra power-ups and potions, more on that later, you could also choose to get free revives whenever you need to, just so you can keep going, just so you can keep your momentum, or in some cases, even make the game harder on yourself or easier on yourself, just so you can essentially tailor the experience to your strong suits.
No, no, no! Whoa, what happened here? Where were you? I told you to stay put! I've been put for weeks. I'm not a house cat. Carol, there have been attacks all over. I needed you to watch the house. Sheesh, I'm not your watchdog either. Watchdog? Oh,
please. You go out, like, all the time.
What, like you don't? Besides, what did you expect me to do? Hey, Mr. 400-ton robot, you'd better not crash into our house at Mach 5 or me and my motorcycle will really show you what's what.
That's not the... Ugh. Never mind. I don't want to fight about this.
Hey, come on, don't be like that. We can fix this, no sweat.
I know, it's just... These attacks are really getting out of control. I'm running myself ragged chasing after them all.
Pshaw, those things don't stand a chance against world-saving pros like us.
Yeah, I guess, but this'll take weeks to fix. Months, even.
Well, why don't we just stay at Mila's for now?
She runs a lab, not a bed and breakfast. But still, maybe she'd know what to do.
Sorry about going mute for a little bit. Needed to take medication. Kinda need it, because I've been in pain for at least a few days this week, and I would rather not deal with that pain anymore. Understandable? Right, most stages have a few different collectibles. There's the standard end stage card, but there's also a music record for every stage. Again, these collectibles are hidden within chests. The third different collectible is only in some of the stages at the start of the game, and that's one of the big tripping points that I have with this game. In many places, it does reek of, hey, we had to rush this out the door because deadline. And one of those instances is because of the third different collectible, Brave Stones. When you select a stage, you can pick a variety of different items to make the experience easier or harder. In at least the first few stages, you can find an additional Brave Stone, which increases the crystal gain that you can get if you can manage the penalty. In this case, clear the stage within a time limit to get your bonus, otherwise you get nothing from it. And again, I feel like the intention was to have a bundle of these hidden within stages, but they never got around to it, or not entirely. And at least to the creators' credit, they did run into a few different frustrating situations. Zola, hello! Hope you're doing well. Right, they ran into a few different situations, among which including, but not limited to, the dreaded virus that would probably get the average YouTuber demonetized, aka COVID. Just saying, COVID pressed a lot of games within the 3 years that it was rampant. And technically it's still at least somewhat rampant nowadays. But less so.
I'll be right there. Lilac! Carol! Wow, you guys look awful. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, sorry it's on such late notice, but could we crash at your place tonight? Our house was destroyed by this giant robot, and we need a place to stay while we fix up
I brought snacks!
Please, come right in. Mi laboratorio es su laboratorio.
Say what?
Oh, never mind. Just don't touch anything that's glowing, or moving, or growling, okay?
Touch all the things.
Coming! Oh, Lady Nero! What a lovely surprise!
Whoa, what are you doing here? Did your treehouse get wrecked too?
Wow, you look off. To credit, these guys do know each other fairly well. But at the same rate, yeah, from an outsider's perspective, those are very awkward words to say.
This isn't about that explosion last week, right? It was an accident, I swear! I was just trying a new chemical compound that would change the color of my clothes!
No.
Oh, okay.
But now that you've mentioned it, I'll have you file a little report once we return to Shang 2.
Oh,
So close,
okay.
Mila. So
we
close.
return? Don't tell me.
The Magister has summoned you all for an audience.
I said don't tell me.
The Magister wants to see us? But why?
We're safer discussing this at the palace. Come.
Well, what if we don't wanna? You did kinda crash our unscripted sleepover.
It would be unwise of you to refuse.
Right, we're going.
Milo, what are
Absolutely.
you-
Chop, chop. You heard the lady.
Watch the
Okay.
tail.
Hold on a sec.
Make that 2 reports.
The characters have evolved quite a ways since, well, in the past 3 years, so to speak. Lilac and Carol haven't changed all too much in terms of what they've been doing from day to day. Mostly it's merc work. Mila, however, decides to take up a whole lot of chemistry. As a result, she's set up a house for herself at the outskirts of the village. Mr. Stumpy also got transplanted here. For the people who care about world building. Mila's gotten a lot stronger since the last time she was around. She started cooking. Pretty much, yeah. And case in point, additional modifiers that you could buy up to make the game a little easier. There will be a bundle of different shops with their own items that you can get from it. Space and time, huh? That I know of, at least, that isn't really a plot point. Whoop.
You will travel to Shangtu Palace and meet with the Magister immediately. You will act with proper reverence. I will not tolerate any flippancy.
No worries, Lady Nira.
Stage 2. This also gives us an opportunity to talk about one of the other systems within Freedom Planet 2. Shielding. You might have noticed it with one of the NPCs in that village, but they had a yellow orb floating around them. That orb is a shield. Shields have been changed quite a bit since Freedom Planet 1. They still have the same property in that they negate certain types of elemental damage. And there are more sources of elemental damage, period, within FP2. However, instead of creating a field effect around the character, instead creates a little pixie that follows you. Additionally, as opposed to how shields operated within Freedom Planet 1, where it was you pick one shield, you stick with it, in this one, shields can stack together. So if you get a shield, you get 2 armor from that. If you get another shield past that, then the shield element will change to the element of the new shield, but you'll instead have 4 shield armor. If you're a very defensive player, you can take advantage of this and stack up a massive amount of shielding. It makes it a lot easier for you to get damageless achievements.
Hey, can you all hear me through this thing?
Or funny, good
An additional change,
That's not completely right, but cool.
Oh, wow. Am I on TV? Oh, hi, Lilac.
Hi, Mila.
characters will sometimes speak during stages. I feel like this could have been used a little bit better, honestly, because some of the things that are discussed are kind of common sense, or otherwise don't really add too much other than flavor to the instant. But still a nice touch. Right, going back to shields for a little bit. There are 5 different elements of shields, and they're based off of Chinese elements. A lot of Chinese theming happens within Freedom Planet. In other words, our shields are fire, water, earth, metal, and wind. Actually, sorry, no wait, I got that wrong. nature, I meant. You know, like wood. Fire. And again, each shield has its own various properties. For the fire shield here, within Freedom Plant 1, it originally had a damage effect around you. That's not the case here. I think it actually just increases your attack power. Water shield gives you unlimited air within water, obviously. It also protects you against water-based hazards. Metal shield will protect you against not just spikes, but also metal weapons as well. Wood protects you from wood-based hazards, as well as attracting life petals. Earth makes it so that you can attract crystals instead, and protects you from earth and crystal-based attacks.
Wait, where are you guys going? Then not to do anything stupid.
If we split up and help, we won't be getting in the way at all.
Cyclone!
Start pressing it. Punch. Not bad.
Cyclone!
Oh, right, you gotta do a bit of looping. There we go. Punch. Shenlong Park is a fairly simple stage for the most part. Your first introduction to water hazards, how those work. But there are also a few opportunities to find secret swag and similar. Some of the enemies can be pretty annoying for a damageless achievement. Case in point, those flies. They scatter a bunch of bombs, which can be pretty hard to dodge. Spike traps are also very annoying, because they fall pretty suddenly and create entire areas where you can't really do much platforming. These clocks are also a bit on the annoying side too, because the pendulum that swings below them, you wouldn't think that it's a damage hazard. It is. And I have lost several damageless runs trying to safely approach them. To the point that I've kind of just learned, ignore them. It's not worth you focusing on. As for the metal bird that's following us wherever we're going, that's going to be our boss for the stage. And that's yet another thing that Freedom Plant 2 loves to do. It loves to pepper you with the upcoming boss for the stage throughout the stage itself. A nice bit of interaction. Not only do you know what you're getting into, and maybe even some of the attacks in some cases, but it also adds to the tension and atmosphere of the stages, too. These things. These turrets, deal water damage, so if you have a water shield, you're mostly fine. I have such a pain with them for whatever reason, because they're shielded on one side. It doesn't look it, but they're shielded from the back, so you have to attack them from the front. Without a shield, you're risking damage. If anything, Mila's the only one that really gets a buy against these enemies, specifically because she can attack from a further distance than they can shoot. Not to mention, she can also reflect their projectiles. There we go. And boss time. There's our bird. This particular enemy does a lot of walking around. Make sure to keep to its front if you can. It likes to fire behind itself. To make up for that, a lot of its attacks are somewhat simple to dodge, provided that you're paying attention to wind-ups. The turret is relatively simple to avoid. That attack isn't. I've lost a few damageless runs because of it. But across the board, this isn't a threatening boss. Done. You get a couple different bonuses from clearing stages. Not only do the crystals and enemy cores that you collect get added to your account, you'll also gain 50% extra crystals if you haven't used any stocks, and an additional 50% if you're not using any items. These modulate depending on the items that you use. In some cases, the second will decrease, and how many times you've revived within the stage. Revive twice, and you're not getting anything whatsoever. Revive once, and your first bonus drops to 25% instead.
Did you guys see my sweet moves back there? That
Nope.
guy was like, roar, and I was all like, wha-bam! And he was like, oh god, not the face.
Oh, sorry. I think I was in a different part of the city. But wha-bam! Alright, yeah!
Good thing we split up. Nice and quick, just the way I like it.
Carol, never stop being Carol. Just like with the first, the second reeks a lot of character. And you can easily just hear it from a lot of the conversations that happen. Right. Also unique to Freedom Planet 2, hub worlds. In these hub worlds, you can talk to a variety of different NPCs. We'll be doing some of that because, and this is both a good and a bad thing, a good chunk of the world building for Freedom Planet 2 and explanation of events that occurs in the background. If you want to search for the additional bits of lore, you can, but you don't have to. But then again, if you're skipping all those bits of lore and playing adventure mode, why are you playing adventure mode? There's classic mode, which completely mitigates the story entirely. Just saying. Alright, one of the things that you can do within your first hub city, this building hosts General Gong's training. After you've talked to the Emperor, you can go into this building here and do some extra boss fights for not just gems, but also a few achievements. Tiny children's fingers. I'm just not gonna comment. You enjoy having tiny children's fingers. Right, at any point within some of these hub worlds, you can exchange enemy cores and crystals for gold gems. The exchange rates are a bit on the high side. Expect yourself to be playing a lot of stages just so you can get all the gold gems you need.
Your Excellency.
Welcome. We appreciate your
It's
attendance
him.
on such short notice.
Why have you brought us here, oh exalted one?
I am sure you are aware of the rise in creature attacks throughout Avalis.
No, we're
Our
not.
intelligence suggests that this is not a coincidence. However, their connection remains a mystery. We need capable fighters to counter the attacks and discover their origin. Assist us, and you will be graciously rewarded.
What kind of reward we talking about here? Wads of cash? A statue of yours truly?
Hell no.
A solid gold motorbike?
I think the motor would melt a solid gold bike.
Wow. Way to crush my hopes and dreams into dust, Mila.
Any gems you find on a mission are yours to keep. In addition, you may use the palace grounds as your base of operations.
What? That's not a reward. That's just picking up loose change. That's cleanup duty.
Carol, we need a place to stay. And we can't just freeload off Mila. Besides, the money could help us rebuild our home.
Well, I don't know about you, but I want to find the robot that trashed our house and kick its big, shiny metal butt.
I'd like to help, but my laboratory.
Our soldiers can transport all your equipment here easily.
Oh, that'd be great! Just make sure they're wearing safety equipment.
Have we reached an agreement?
Ladies? Magister, we accept your offer.
You render your world a great service.
I thought I smelled water dragon.
Hey, I've seen you around before. Aren't you an earth dragon?
Not quite. Why don't you go make yourself useful?
One of the big plot threads revolving around this game is actually revolving around the dragons, believe it or not. Not just Murga, but earth and water dragons specifically. We'll see more of that later. Ascal is a bit of an odd case. He's half an earth dragon, which leads to a few different complications. This world isn't exactly keen on half-breeds. As a result, as you're talking to people, you might notice that some people don't exactly have a favorable opinion of Ascal, specifically because of his race. And this particular question is brought up a lot, believe it or not, within this game. There is a legitimate reason for it, but even still,